So one of the key distinctions I want to share with you is this distinction between what I am going to call assertions and assessments. And you might think, well, this is obvious, claims of truth against my opinions, subjective, objective. But we often in real life forget the difference. We treat one as the other. And or we forget just what is the difference. So this is a particular interpretation from a group of linguists, John Searle and I forget the second one, but that's okay, interpreted by Fernando Flores in particular, who identified six linguistic acts, six things we do, six actions we take in language to coordinate action, to coordinate work with other people. And two of them that are critical are assertions and assessments. And these have got a lot to do with how we construct a shared world together. So assertions are about facts or claims of facts. So they could be non-facts, they could be false. So assertions can be true or false in the sense that we can gather evidence to verify them or to refute them. There is a third version of these that could come up, and you'll see this in some of the text. Uh, Pending. We don't have an assessment of whether it is in fact true or false. We may need to go and gather evidence or look something up or do an experiment to find out. So it's still a world of assertion. It's not an assessment, but we don't know if it's true or false. For example, if I claim it is going to rain more than 20 millimeters in the Melbourne CBD tomorrow, that's a pending assertion. We won't know if it's true or false until tomorrow and we appropriately measure it. Even with assertions, they're not obvious because we need evidence to support our assertions. So if we claim something is true, we need to be able to give evidence. But in a group of people, we need shared standards. What constitutes acceptable evidence? Some people subscribe to certain scientific practices, others to different practices for the shared standard of what they hold as true. This is a linguistic construct. It's not about what's actually out there in the world. It's what we hold. Uh, and this is important. The other thing that can happen with the truth is verifiable, but it's not absolute because neither you nor I nor anyone else has an absolute access to what is real and factual in the world. So there is a difference between what I would claim is true, has acceptable evidence, and truth, this fundamental approach where I know how things are. I am the source of authority, and I speak this like it is unquestionable, where it would be offensive for me to ask me to consider evidence, for example. So this is something worth thinking about, this difference between true and truth, even when in the context of feedback, we have seen something or we know something. Is it objective, first of all? But secondly, are we holding it as something for which we have evidence, or are we holding it as true with a capital T? Secondly, we've got the world of assessments. This is the world of opinions, judgments. Often stories are about assessments. Assessments are about the quality of things. And in this sense, assessments are neither true nor false. They can't be true or false. They're subjective. because the source of quality, if I think something's beautiful or you think it's beautiful, the source of that is in us, not out there in the world. I may claim this is a delicious cup of coffee. If you tasted the same cup of coffee, you may have a different opinion of it. So, in this sense, opinions can be grounded or ungrounded, but that's very different between true or false. And we're going to talk more about this. A grounded assessment is one for which there is in a sense, evidence for it and not against it. But it's not just about that. So, in this sense, whilst opinions are subjective and they're mine, and we all can have an opinion, that doesn't mean all opinions are equal. Some have grounds, some may not. The other key thing about assessments are standards. Every assessment is based on a standard. If I say something is beautiful, or I say a piece of work is efficient, or some writing is acceptable, a lesson plan is appropriate, I have a standard for beautiful, efficient, appropriate, even correct. So we have standards. And then this is where we have evidence. So there could be evidence for or against. But the evidence isn't in the same sense as with a fact or an assertion. It's about whether something meets a standard or not. And I'm going to share with you a process for grounding assessments, for checking whether they've got legs, not whether they're true or false, but whether they've got enough to support them. And when we share assessments, it's important again to remember they are assessments and they're not facts. Uh, the other thing about assessments is they can be positive or negative. I can have an assessment that something is an acceptable piece of work or it's not up the standard that I need. In the world of work, this thing of standards is absolutely critical because if standards are not shared, people are going to produce work that I may assess is not high performance or of sufficient standard. But if we don't have the same standard, we're going to be at cross purposes because I'm going to go, this isn't acceptable, and they're going to go, yes, it is. But what's hidden underneath is not necessarily even the evidence, but we do not share a standard. So that's just touching on assessments. We could do a lot more. I'm going to share another video with my colleague Diane speaking about assessments and how we use assessments to bridge the past to the future. Because we make assessments in the present based on evidence from the past and standards we've established in the past. We make them now, but we're essentially declaring how the future is. Declaring means like drawing a line in the sand, not necessarily consciously and in our awareness, but nevertheless, we're doing it. If I think John is unreliable, I formed that assessment and I don't check it, I'm living in a world now where John is unreliable. I'm going to treat him differently, or I'm going to take care with what I delegate or ask him to do, because in my world, that's how he is. Now, that may be grounded or ungrounded. I hope that makes sense. And the big trap becomes when we confuse our assessments with truth, or particularly the truth. I've formed an assessment of how something is or should be, and I think I have the truth. I forget I may have evidence for and against it and standards on which I'm basing it. Or you may have a different perspective, different standards, different evidence. When I share an assessment, give feedback from the place of truth, You can see how different that is from sharing it from, I have an assessment. What is your assessment of your performance of this situation, of what's happening here? So I hope this is useful. Please read through the text. And my invitation is to reflect now on a particular piece of work. So think of a place in the world where you want to give feedback, where you have an assessment of somebody's behavior or performance, whether it is a positive or a negative assessment. But think about it from, what's your standard? What's your evidence? Are you treating it as the truth or a perspective that you have?